Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you've had a fantastic Thursday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is a very emotional story about a 9-year-old boy by the name of CJ. He's a son of a couple from Port Byron, New York, Jolene LaFrance, Marty LaFrance. And we learned about CJ last year when a GoFundMe popped up sharing his story. The campaign was launched by someone by the name of Misty David Taylor. And Misty shared CJ's story and said why she started this GoFundMe, writing, "I am starting this GoFundMe to help a deserving family going through something no family should ever have to deal with. The LaFrance family recently found out their son CJ has cancer. CJ was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma initially. If that isn't bad enough, they were just given the news that he has a malignant tumor in his abdomen and gastroparesis. CJ has to go to the Children's Hospital several times a week for treatments, which has forced both Jolene and Marty to take a leave of absence from work. They have been out of work since March, leaving them with no income. Any funds raised will go towards medical expenses, gas for travel, and anything else related to this difficult time." The campaign asked for $8,000 in donations. At least 3,334 were received. CJ's father, Marty, leaving a comment on the page saying, "I am truly humbled and at a loss for words. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Your generosity and compassion are simply amazing and overwhelming." And CJ's story also gained traction in the local community. In August of last year, he was invited to attend a football practice at Syracuse University. CJ got to play catch with some of the players. He received throwing tips from the team's quarterback. He huddled with the team and led the team chant. He hung out with the players and coaches. This got covered on Syracuse.com, and there was just this really heartwarming quote. Syracuse's director of player development shared with CJ that he himself is a 2-time cancer survivor, and CJ reportedly replied, "If he's beaten it 2 times and is still around a football program, I can do it too." But at the same time as that was happening, apparently CJ was getting worse. CJ's uncle, Justin Rowe, he accompanied him to the practice and said, the night was 10 out of 10. Staff was amazing. I was blown away. But then he also shared that CJ's Hodgkin's lymphoma had been up to stage 3 status. This after he had reportedly already gone through a full round of radiation. He was going through 3 chemotherapy sessions per week and had multiple lymph nodes surgically removed. When asked about CJ's condition, his uncle said he has not been getting better. And all of that brings us to this week where you know that the next update with a situation like this, and the only positive, is CJ doesn't have to deal with cancer anymore. But it turns out it's because CJ never had cancer. Buckle up, because it might actually be worse than what you're now thinking. This week, the Cayuga County Sheriff's Office announced that after a 4-month investigation launched after police received a tip, detectives discovered the whole thing was a scam. According to the police press release, the investigation revealed that Mr. and Mrs. LaFrance participated in the creation of a GoFundMe request for donations, which indicated that their child had cancer. As a result of this online solicitation, they did receive several $1,000s in donations. The investigation revealed conclusively that the child was never diagnosed with cancer or any other medical condition that was alleged in the GoFundMe solicitation. And the couple has been arrested. They've been charged with 1 count each of scheme to defraud in the 1st degree and endangering the welfare of a child. Combining these charges, they face up to 5 years in prison. And as I mentioned before, the story actually gets worse, because according to Detective Nicole Stewart, the LaFrances actually convinced CJ that he had cancer. And not only did they convince CJ he had cancer, but also his uncle Justin Rowe. And the things the uncle was saying about CJ today are heartbreaking. He told me that he didn't want to close his eyes at night because he was afraid of not waking up, adding, "I'm CJ's only uncle. To see somebody that I've bonded with like that, it was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to face as an uncle." I think that's why today was just like a right hook to the face. And as far as how he was tricked as well, apparently he only got information from the parents and never directly from a medical office, which I think is really understandable, because I don't think that people would knowingly associate with people who would lie about their children having cancer. One of the craziest things about this whole situation is that according to the sheriff's office, they believe CJ is still with his parents. And as of right now, it's an unknown whether Cayuga County Social Services Department has actually opened up an investigation into the couple. Which, if they haven't, my question is, what the hell do you people do? Because I'm not an expert or anything, but I think convincing your child that they have cancer, that's a form of abuse. Right, in my opinion, 1, I think these garbage people need to serve time. 2, I wouldn't trust these people with anything, let alone a human life. But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and Today in Awesome brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek, of course, a fantastic ticket app that just takes the confusion out of buying tickets, whether it be for a concert, a comedy show, a sporting event, whatever. They put all the tickets in one place, give them 0 to 100 scores so you know if you're getting a good deal or not. I have the app on my phone, and it is by far the easiest way to purchase tickets, whether it be for a last-minute event or something I'm looking forward to down the road. So if you want to make the smart move like many from the nation already have, go to SeatGeekPhil.com, download the app, and make sure you enter in code PHIL to get $20 off your first ticket purchase. And the first bit of awesome today is all of you guys that went and you downloaded DeFranco Now, you gave it that fat 5-star rating. Also, I'm so enthusiastic about it because everyone's coming from a really excited place and not being a dick. So if we could keep that up too, awesome. But just like I said Tuesday when we launched DeFranco Now, this is the base level. Also, to everyone that has Android, thank you for not giving me too much shit. It is on the to-do list. There is, once again, there is a web version, but I very much recommend if you have iOS, you get the app and you do not try the web version. As of right now, that's really more of just a placeholder until the better version comes out. And what I mean by that is the site is fine for a viewing experience, but if you really want to get involved in the video conversation, get the app. But yes, a lot of things to work on, and thank you for being on the ride with me. And if you're not, come back in a month. Then fans of Rick and Morty rejoice. This morning, Justin Roiland tweeted this out. Rick saying, "It's official, Morty. Insert burp sound. 70 more adventures, Morty. Insert burp sound. You and me, kind of a burp sound, but more an air escaping the mouth sound. 70 more, Morty." And then an aw geez. So rejoice, but then also become sad because you know it's probably gonna be a really long time. But why rush him? Then we had a TED Ed on when the next Ice Age will happen. Then we have a Happy Mother's Day video / trailer for Hereditary. Got a trailer for Tig Notaro's new special. We also had the very important video of Deadpool apologizing to David Beckham. Then we had Machine Gun Kelly getting his rematch on Hot Ones. We also got a trailer for Searching, which is a really interesting looking movie from John Cho. I'm personally a huge fan of found footage, also just on the screen sort of movies. I'm very excited about this one. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. Then in YouTubers making other YouTubers look bad news, we have our buddy Jake Paul back in the news. He popped up in the news today because he had issued a challenge to his very young viewers that he called the Chalkboard Challenge. He says, go to your classroom whiteboard or chalkboard, write the link to my merch site, take a picture, tweet it, and I will follow you on Twitter. And it turns out many of his young fans did this, and then they got in trouble. Some examples: I love you so much at Jake Paul, and I got in trouble after this, but you're worth it. You're my #1, and I will forever be a Jake Pauler. At Jake Paul got in trouble for recommending a very website to my class, and my teacher always plugged. I got in trouble. Another saying they got detention for doing it, to which Jake Paul retweeted and said, LOL slay. And I will say, for me personally, this was kind of a nothing story until he was actively cheering on people getting in trouble to do this for him. They're kids, and you have a lot of power over them. And my reaction to this is, one, I really hope the mainstream is smart enough and not aiming so much for clickbait that they realize that the Jake Pauls of the world are not representative of the rest of the community. And two, I mean, we really shouldn't be surprised regarding Jake Paul and what he's telling children to do in their classrooms, and then is like egging it on even more when they get in trouble. It seems very apparent, despite whatever words he uses to say otherwise, or sad music, or just like, guys, I'm connecting with you kind of stuff. He likely sees these kids as things, as dollar signs, as a means to an end. And Jake, I have to say, I understand the marketing method. Obviously, it's kind of guerrilla marketing. You're starting with your core base, you're expanding by using them. But don't cheer on your incredibly impressionable young audience when they get in trouble for doing the thing you told them to do. At least give kind of the, hey, maybe do this after class is over, or do it in a way where you're not being a fuckboy like me. For example, for the next 48 hours on shopdefranco.com, I'm having a 20% off sale. And to activate that coupon code, you have to go to a special website. It's right here. That, yes, spell it exactly like that. And to my audience, I say, you know, please don't post that link on Twitter. If you do, I definitely will not follow you. Don't write it in your classroom, on your blackboard, your whiteboard, any board. And if you ever need a reminder as to why you are not disrupting class or doing anything ridiculous, it's because you don't want to be like, When you use that link, the site will look normal, but when you actually go to a page to buy something, that's where you'll see the 20%. But main point, enjoy that code for the next 36, 48 hours. If you've been holding off, grab a lot. We just launched a bunch of new shirts and hoodies in addition to a bunch of the fan favorites. Then we have important updates around North Korea. Very early this morning, President Trump went to Joint Base Andrews in Maryland. He welcomed home the 3 men who were prisoners in North Korea we talked about yesterday. This happened around 3 o'clock in the morning. Trump was accompanied by Melania. Through a translator, one of the returnees did speak with the media, describing his treatment, discussing forced labor, but also saying he did receive medical attention, which is a lot better than some of the stories we hear out of North Korea. And around this situation, I have to say, I'm really happy to see these 3 people freed. I will give President Trump and everyone involved credit, except really North Korea. But for them, I mean, it's really just a show of good faith. It's a positive going into negotiations when really these people should not have been held. Right, I think it's important that we remember the stories and people behind those stories, like Otto Warmbier. Right, I think that's important to keep in mind. And the other big news around North Korea is this morning, President Trump tweeted out the date and location of where he and Kim Jong-un will meet, tweeting the highly anticipated meeting between Kim Jong-un and myself will take place in Singapore on June 12th. We will both try to make it a very special moment for world peace. And once again, as I've said in the past, I am very excited for this. I am hoping for the best, but I am incredibly skeptical. We've seen North Korea in the past come to the table, throw it to the side, but at the same time, it is important to acknowledge that we are in a different place. Notably, they seem to be able to actually shoot nukes. Also, with President Trump leaving the Iran deal, it appears very apparent, I think, during these negotiations that no one's really looking for a slowdown. But that's also because there's really nothing to slow down. If everything that we're seeing publicly is true, they have nuclear weapons that could hit the United States and allies. And really, if there is no other unknown X factor where it turns out that North Korea's nuclear program, it all imploded. There's a massive setback, you know, this is waving the white flag, but in a different way. Or just some other thing that we're not thinking of where Kim Jong-un goes, yeah, we don't need the nuclear weapons, even though this is the only reason we're even having this conversation. I don't know. Like I said, incredibly skeptical. I'm hoping for the best, though. Then we had Spotify and R. Kelly in the news. This because today Spotify announced their new policy on hate content and hateful conduct, defining hate content as content that expressly and principally promotes, advocates, or incites hatred or violence against a group or individual based on characteristics, including race, religion, gender identity, sex, ethnicity, nationality, sexual orientation, veteran status, or disability. And Spotify says if they are alerted that something might violate that policy, they may remove it or just refrain from promoting it. They're also reportedly working with all of these groups to help identify content that violates the rule. And one of the really interesting things regarding this policy is it doesn't necessarily have to be the music in question. Their policy reads, "We don't censor content because of an artist or creator's behavior, but we want our editorial decisions, what we choose to program, to reflect our values. When an artist or creator does something that is especially harmful or hateful, for example, violence against children and sexual violence, it may affect the ways we work with or support that artist or creator." And immediately following this policy being rolled out, R. Kelly was removed from all playlists and promotion. But it's important to know that he is not being removed from the entire platform. R. Kelly, if you don't know or you don't remember, was accused of sexual violence by multiple women. One of those situations, of course, famously involving that video that he says definitely was not him peeing on a minor. There were actually 2 new accusations that came out against him last week, and of course there was the whole alleged sex cult thing. And if none of that is ringing a bell, you're interested, I'll link to a bunch of sources down below. And regarding this specific removal, a spokesperson for Spotify said, in addition to R. Kelly, XXXTentacion was also removed from playlists as of today. He, if you don't know, has a long history of legal issues. He's currently facing charges in Florida that include aggravated battery of a pregnant woman, domestic battery by strangulation, false imprisonment, and witness tampering. Up until today, his song Sad had a prime spot on Spotify's Rap Caviar playlist, which has around 9.5 million followers. And in response to this move by Spotify, representatives for XXXTentacion responded to a New York Times reporter with a statement containing the names of over a dozen other artists. And you can probably see where this is going. Other artists who had been accused of violent or sexual crimes, questioning whether Spotify was going to remove those artists as well. And personally, I find that to be a very, very valid question. One of the names a lot of people are bringing up now, he's massive right now. He has put out hit after hit, and that is Tekashi 6ix9ine. He of course had that plea deal where he pled guilty to the use of a child in a sexual performance, that involving the sexual performance of a girl that was reported as 13 years old. She reportedly appeared nude and engaged in a sex act with another party in a series of videos 6ix9ine appeared in. Videos he reportedly also posted on social media. The specifics there, according to the court document, he was at an apartment in Harlem with several other men, one Taquan Anderson, who was charged separately, and she was videotaped performing oral sex on Anderson while 6ix9ine, quote, stands behind the child making a thrusting motion with his pelvis and smacking her on her buttocks. Right, and so it's an interesting situation because you have people that have just been accused, people who maybe took plea deals. As long as 6ix9ine follows the conditions of his deal, he's not going to serve jail time. Right, so one, where exactly is the line? And two, is this more about just not connecting yourself to another artist, or is it trying to impact them? You have a rapper like 6ix9ine who most likely would not be affected that much even if he was removed off of playlists or promotion. I mean, right now he's at a point in his career where he is bigger than any of the other places that could feature or promote him. But if you have someone that is newer trying to grow, or someone like an R. Kelly that is kind of past their prime, but they have an archive of music, that is a meaningful impact. That said, my ultimate opinion on this is, yeah, Spotify should be free to do whatever the hell they want, right? Especially when we're talking about a situation where if someone is accused of something, they're not removing that person's music from the platform. They, as a company, are just providing themselves some breathing room between them and the artist. But I feel like over the next 24 hours and the next week, we're gonna really see how Spotify shapes up. What songs are removed, what artists are removed, and then who's just not getting promoted anymore. But all of that said, I want to pass the question off to you. That is a story, that's my personal takeaway, and now I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And that's where I'm going to end today's show. Remember, if you like this video and or my dumb face, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell so notifications are on. They even sometimes work, which, by the way, if you missed yesterday's show and you want to catch up, click or tap right there to watch that. Or if you need something lighter, you can watch the newest behind the scenes vlog. Click or tap right there to watch that. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.